11th, 1993, and I'm going to show you how we make kreplach. Now for the filling, you used cooked meat. You can use leftover pot roast, and it's ground up, or if you don't happen to have any leftover, you can cook it. You take a piece of chuck, brisket, anything that you like, and you pot it with some onion and seasonings, and when it's cooked, you grind it up, but it has to be ground very fine, and you add some of the gravy from the potted meat, some of the onion that's mashed up fine, and then for about between 2.5 to 3 pounds of meat, you can add 2 eggs. You mix that to the meat that's been ground. Then you also want some oil for flavoring and to moisten it. You take any kind of oil, corn oil, or I wouldn't use olive oil though, and add a dried onion flake, maybe 1/4 cup. Saute it very lightly, and you have to watch it carefully or it might burn. And when that's sauteed, you add that to the ground meat, mix it all up, and you should have about 4 cups of ground up meat at that point. Put that to one side, and then you will start on the dough. Now for the dough part, you will use, for about that much meat, you probably use 4 cups of flour, and the proportion is 1 egg to 1 cup of flour, so you use about 4 eggs. You can drop it to 3 if you want less egg. You can use 4 cups of flour and 3 eggs, and maybe add about, to that amount, 1/4 cup of the oil. And then what you do is you use warm water. You start with a cup and add it and keep adding it until all the flour and the water make a very nice soft dough. And then you add about, maybe 1/4 teaspoon of salt and mix it all together. It's just regular bread flour that's used. Any kind is okay. This is a 1 cup measure, so 1. Yeah, I'm on television. It's 3, and this is 4. Now, what they do is they say you make a hole in the middle, a well, and you take 3 of these eggs. Now, in order, I better make sure they're okay, so you'll get a little dish to drop them in. Okay, this is 1. My helper here will drop that in the center. That's okay. That's 1. That's 2. And 3. Now we need a little salt, and I'm just going to guess. It's not that much, but if you don't put salt in, it's kind of blah. I said 1/4 teaspoon. Now I'm going to put a little oil in. It sort of helps to work the dough in. It's not a lot. It's just maybe 1/8 cup, I'd say. Now what we have to do is I have to get in a cup and fill it up with some warm water and bring it over to here. With your hands, you just keep mixing it around. He keeps getting water. Time out while he gets the water. Now,
Warm water?
Yeah, doesn't have to be hot, but warm water is better than just cold, I find, for this particular thing. Now you see it, it's crumbly. Okay, now we still put it in the middle. Are your hands nice and clean?
Yep.
All right, now we'll start with 1/2 cup, and you bring it to the center. I can keep squeezing it until it sort of all gets into the center here. We probably need a little bit more. And once
Will you tilt the bowl a little bit this way?
See,
so we can
it's-
see the texture.
Keith will remember the texture because
Oh yeah.
he's feeling it. But the thing is, see, your hands will get all full of that
Yeah, nice and grabby.
gunk, so you better ungunk it.
Gunk.
Now what happens, I take 2 hands.
This is basically a pasta dough we're making.
Yeah, just like it. That's what it is.
Okay.
Now, if you were making pasta, you'd probably do the same. They pretty much make it with, I think, just flour and water. Which some people do make it. Only we add eggs. That's right. Pasta can be made, I think, without eggs too. But see, it's beginning.
Yeah, I make pasta though.
Now let's see.
So far you used about a half a cup of water with this, I'd say.
Yeah, well, yeah, just about a cup, and see what's left. So
Well, no, this I put it right up to the cup line, so that was about a half a cup.
now it's getting to feel a little sticky. So it might be okay, and I keep kneading it with. Just see, it's all come away from the bowl, but you have to keep doing this.
To come away from the bowl, but not your hands. Huh?
Yeah, well,
That's
you can.
from the original stuff, probably, right?
Well, some of it is.
This stuff, yeah. This isn't sticky.
No. So now what you do is you take some flour, a little bit more. That's why it's not a precise kind of thing.
But you're kneading it now.
Yeah, to get it. So pretty soon I'll probably put it on the table.
How long do you knead it for?
Well, you'll get to see till it feels smooth, which it doesn't at the moment, see. Dump this out on the table. And you keep,
Do you want Keith to do that?
You want me to?
well,
Seems like it's hard work.
well, after it gets tighter it is. Just wait. Take a feel of it. And after I'll give you, so you take all the, oops.
You need some flour on the table, maybe?
Yeah, for a little bit. Boy, we got real chef here. Okay.
Chef Burt Wolf.
Now you see how you do it? Just fold this here and keep rolling it. Fold it. Oh, you watch him too. Okay, there. Just keep on
Like that?
doing that, and I'll go wash my hands.
Then give it a 90-degree turn, Keith, and do it. Yeah, that's right. And then now fold it that way. And do it, yeah.
Hard work. Builds up muscle strength.
Well, Keith, does it feel right?
Feels pretty good. It's starting to feel very smooth, but there are still some rough edges.
Getting tired?
Yep.
Better you than Grandma.
Yep. She gets tired, her asthma will start in. I get tired, my allergies will start in.
Want me to do some? Want me to take the pictures?
Do you want to do some?
Now the dough will look something like this, nice and smooth, and it's been kneaded and pounded and rolled around. And so when it's not sticking to your hands, you know you had enough.
put it in the bowl. Is that
Yeah, put it back in the bowl, and you just cover, yeah, with a dish towel, like over the top. And you let it rest, rest for about 10 or 15 minutes before you roll it out to make the kreplach.
okay? We'll see you in about 10 or 15 minutes then.
Right, okay.
Is that correct, Keith?
The frugal gourmet.
Yeah. Now, the dough's rested for about 15 minutes, so we take the cover off, take it out, we cut it, probably in thirds because it's easier to roll out. Put this back and cover it up, and you can feel, see how different it is now? It's like softer and easier to handle, see?
Can you
Right?
feel that, Keith?
Yeah.
Very soft.
See that? Which it wasn't before, so that's the purpose of letting it rest. And we spread
Flour
this
the
flour,
area.
and we roll this out till about 1/4 of an inch thick. You try to make it a rectangle if you can. If you don't, you just keep straighten it out as you go along. Just keep pressing on it. So you can tell that it's a nice dough and it's easy to handle. And you go like this a little bit, like from the middle. You keep stretching it to the side. That's a heavy rolling pin. A little more flour there. And then, like I should, you just take from the center, you go out to the end, from the center to the end. See, I'm trying to make it a rectangle, sort of. Because you're going to cut it into squares, so it's better to have it as a rectangle. And it's very elastic, so you have to really stretch it because it goes back. See?
A lot of elasticity.
Yep. Go this way, this way. Whoa, what was that? Fingers?
Yeah.
Whoop. And you can stretch it with your hand a little, like people do pizza. There we go.
Throw a pizza up in the air and swirl
Yeah.
it around.
Hey. Holy moly.
It is very elastic.
Whoopee. Move this. Stretch.
So you turned it over.
Yeah, I turned it over. You can. Now, see, it's getting bigger.
You can see after she, hold on, get a piece. You can see after she rolls it out, it comes right back.
That shows you how elastic it is. You can't make it too thin because you'll see when you're putting these filling in and trying to pull it to fold it over, if it's too thin, it'll tear, and you don't want that because when it cooks, you want it to be closed, otherwise the water will get in. Now that, if you can see, that looks about the thickness.
Let's go in there for a close up.
So now, when we get it rolled to what we want, if there's a little tear or something, you just fix it. And we will get a knife, and we will now cut into squares. And then we'll place the meat on it. Here's the knife. Don't worry about that. It doesn't have to be, it's not a...
What size are you making these?
Well, they're going to be, let's see, they're about, you cut about 2 inches, I'd say.
2 by 2?
Yeah, I'm going to hold it something like that. So I cut that. See? When I hold it up, it's about like that.
I didn't see that. It's too hard to. Okay. Put it on
If
your
you come over
palm of
here.
your hand.
So if you come over here, you look down at the table, maybe you could tell
You
better.
need something. Okay. You need something to get your proportions.
Yeah, well, see, it's not going to be exact because it's not an exact
But 2 by 2 roughly.
rectangle, yeah. First you cut it to a strip about that big. And then about 2. And I'm cutting, if they're not all exactly alike, it's okay. That piece isn't just right. So I'm going to make that one, that's a little piece that's cut off from that one, but it's okay. So next, take the next 2-inch strip. Go like that. That extra piece I'll put here, and then when we get to the end, I just put those pieces together and they can make one. See? Yeah, I could cut this a little, it's big. But, you know, it's something that doesn't have to be exact, but you do want them to be about the same size, because when you're cooking them, you want them to take the same amount of time to cook. So if you have one big one and one small one, and I brush this flour away, because you don't want it too floury, because if you use too much flour, you know, you don't have a good taste. You want enough flour so it doesn't stick, that's about it.
That's a lot.
Yeah, well now we have 3, it's going to be in thirds. So what we have here is 1 amount, and you can multiply that times 3. And then we would use
34 times 3.
Okay, and you could probably, if you can see this amount, it's about, I think, a teaspoon. You just put the
I'd
amount.
say a small teaspoon.
Yeah, see? So you take and put this on every one of these, and then you're all ready to sort of mass produce it. And then if you have somebody helping you, it's great, because they help you stick it all together, which takes a bit of doing.
How do you stick them together? Do you
I'll
need
show
to
you.
use water or anything?
No, I don't use water. It actually will stick because the way this stuff is. Yeah, feel, so you'll know, see how moist?
Yeah.
Just about
Well,
that.
when you make them ball, it sticks together.
Yeah, but
That's
it
it.
has to be, so, you know, you wouldn't want it dry, but you don't want it too wet. So you just take, and we'll show you how you make a couple of these. You got a lot here. I should bet probably have about 100.
Wow.
And then you can freeze them.
Maybe we can
Delicious.
party.
Yeah, Kreplach party, huh?
Looks like chocolate from the view I
It
have.
does? Does it look like chocolate?
Looks like Hershey Kisses you're putting
Or
on.
little
Oh,
meatballs.
Yeah, sort of.
I guess
Miniature.
they are meatballs. They're just cooked meatballs.
Right. And that. And that. And then we probably have another one sticking over there. That one. Okay. This, you put one corner, it's a triangle. You put one corner to the other corner and press them together with your finger. Then you take the 2 ends and you put those together, and that's your Kreplach. I'll show you now.
So
The corners and the
Basically,
you make a
triangle.
triangle out of it.
making sure that the meat is in the center.
Right. That's why you don't want to overstuff it. Now this is beautiful dough because it's not too sticky. It's just doing what it's supposed to. See that?
It's pretty easy.
Isn't that?
Can you fold one down close to the table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
like
it's
this.
easier for me to
All
see
right.
in contrast.
All right. You fold it in the shape of a triangle, where the two, you know how
Can
the
you watch this, Keith?
2 corners
Well,
meet.
choose.
Watch mine here. I'm doing it. She's doing it in the air. I'm doing it on the table.
What do
And
you
then
want on the
and then
table?
and then I
And
take
then you
each
take-
corner and crimp it really tight.
Now, if you want to, I suppose you could use a fork like and do it, but I find it's just this.
This is the way your mother did it?
Yes.
And this is
with
the
your
way we
hands.
do it. We want
See?
tradition.
Looks like little tortellini, big tortellinis.
That's right. See, that's it, kids.
The question is,
It's
did
not.
the Italians get it from the Jews, or did the Jews get it from the
Or did the
Italians, or was
Chinese
it just
borrow
a
it from
coincidence?
somebody? I think everybody that visited everybody else gave it another name.
That, or they may have all
Yeah.
come up with the same idea, putting meat.
Grandma's made 7, Dad's made 2.
Well, he's a beginner, see? And
Do you
that's,
want to try to make some, Keith?
Sure,
that's
hold
what-
on.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now they're all made. That's what we made out of one batch. Now what I'm going to do is I take this pan and spray it on this pan, and we're going to do what they call fast freeze them, so they won't stick. We put them in the pan, then put them in our freezer until they get firm, and that way
Close together.
you can put them in a plastic bag, one of those Ziploc bags, and when you're ready to take them out, you take out as many as you want, and they don't stick together, because when you do this
Well,
fast,
when you boil them, how long do you boil them for?
when you boil them, well, usually about 15 minutes is about enough. Drop them in boiling salted water for 15 minutes, and then strain them. And you should put a little bit, maybe of margarine or something on it, because they will stick together if you don't. And if you want, you can eat this. I have 2 cans. If you want, you can eat them plain, or you can fry them in a little oil. But they're good plain too, just chicken soup.
Homer Simpson.
And now we're going to put these in the freezer part for about, maybe at least 15 minutes. And there we have them.
Certainly, the longer the better. Is that correct?
Well, when you feel them, if they're hard and they feel hard enough so that you can put them in a bag, otherwise that's it. Okay, now we got one batch done.
Over to the
How do they
freezer.
look, Mom?
Good.
They look like the real thing.
Look what I found in the basement, Grandma.
Oh, for God's sake. Did I
Gave
think
us
that? I
that.
think so.
Oh, this is made out of lead.
But it's that's good.
Is
Okay,
this
you gotta
lead?
put them in the freezer.
Yeah, let's
No,
see. Oh, let's see. We said we're going to think it's down here.
it's heavy.
And there's one up here for now, I think.
We need a dehumidifier in the basement.
This is what we ground the meat in, this dirty thing.